Okay, so we are in part 3, day 3 of our midterm review. Really just going over your homework answers. Okay, so numbers 19 and 20, you were supposed to write equations, all right? And like I just said, you're probably going to need to use the pause button more than usual on this video because I forgot to record it, and so now we're kind of going back and covering it again. But on number 20, you use the table, pull out your ordered pairs, find your slope, and then how did I know which one was my y-intercept? How did I know? Based on the table. How did I know which one was the y-intercept?
Because it has a 0.
Yes, it's the ordered pair that has a 0 for x. Okay, so that's number 20. On 21, all you had to do was plug in the ordered pair into point slope form. So my y1 value was -1, and my slope was 1/4, and my x1 value was 5. But this is not my final answer. Why? Why is this not my final answer? Because I have a double negative, okay? And now we're good. Now on 22, where you graph the linear system, remember that you're graphing each equation individually, okay? So on 22, your first point should have been on a 3, and then you went up 4/1, and then for the second equation you went down 2, and then down 1/1, and it crossed. Okay, so here's what you need to remember. Your answer is the ordered pair. Your answer is not the graph. The graph shows you where it crosses. The ordered pair is your answer. And on your test, as long as you're close, that's all I'm looking for. Okay, so as long as you're within the vicinity, we'll be okay. On 23, we had to use substitution. So we're looking for one of the equations to have x or y solved for. Do I have that on 23? Is y solved for on any of them? Yes, it's solved for here. So -3x minus 14 gets plugged in for y on the first equation. That's what I did. Okay, that's what you see in parentheses. And again, you might need to pause this. I might go a little too fast on the recording, but you're going to do distributive property. X minus 12x minus 56 equals -1. What do I do now? Next. What's my next step? Combine like terms. X minus 12x is -11x. Minus 56, now add 56 to both sides and divide, and you get -5. -5. Now come back up here and plug -5 in for x, and you're going to get 1. And remember, the ordered pair is your answer. So if you forget the ordered pair part, well, on your midterm, you're going to have 4 choices. They're all ordered pairs, but just FYI. Now on 24, you have a system, and when you're looking to do elimination, you're looking for opposites. Well, do you see any opposites here? No, your 3's are the same value, okay, but they're not opposites. What would I want to multiply the bottom 3 by to make it opposite? -1. The whole equation. So now it's -3y minus 6 equals -1x. Okay, now I can cancel them, and I get -3 equals x. But now how do I find y? How do I find y? Guys, how do I find y? Plug it back in. Oh, sorry. Plug it back in for x back in one of the original equations. It does not matter which one. 3y plus 6 equals -3. Subtract 6 and divide by 3. And there's your answer. Okay? Now, on 25, it does not tell you which method to use, but you know that because of the setup, which method should you choose? Which method? Substitution. Okay? So now you have -2x minus 1 that you're plugging in for y on the second equation. So 4x plus 2 times -2x minus 1 equals -5. Distribute, and what happens, I kind of just gave it away, but what happens when you do 4x minus 4x? Completely cancels, and you end up with -2 equals -5, which is not true. So it's no solution. If what's left is the same number, negative 2 equals negative 2, then it's infinite solution. All right, now we're going to kind of skip ahead to 26 through 30. Just looking at the scatter plot, you should have the points plotted. It's a positive linear relationship. The outlier is 1440. The gap is between 441 and 850, and there are no clusters. Now, on the table below, okay, we need to write the equation of the line of fit. We pull out 2 ordered pairs from the table. It does not matter which one as long as they are back to back. What do you think, though, is the benefit to pulling out these ordered pairs specifically? Because one of them has a 0 for x, and we know, because this is exactly how we did number 20, we know that that will be helpful in writing our equation. So what did you get when you found the slope? What's 15 minus 17 over 1 minus 0? Negative 2 over 1. So now we put this into an equation. Y equals negative 2x, and what is my y-intercept? What's my y-intercept? 17. 17. So there's my equation for the line of fit. That's my equation for the line of fit. So what is the relationship between x and y? As x increases, according to the table, what is happening to my y values? As x increases, what happens to y? It decreases. So what type of a relationship is that? That is a negative relationship. Okay, now I need to make my interpretation. Okay, and since this is multiple choice, you'll have 4 scenarios to choose from. Okay, so how could I interpret my y-intercept? Does anybody know? Anybody think they know? We've gone through a couple of these. Is my voice putting you to sleep? Okay, just lunch, sugar. All right, how can I interpret my y-intercept? All right, well, when the line crosses the y-axis, what's my x value? My x value is, look at the chart. My x value is 0. You just said that your y-intercept was 17, right? Well, at the value of 17, your x value is 0. So this is what it means. 0 minutes after 12 o'clock noon, there should be about 17 customers in line. You see that? Where the line crosses the y-axis, my x value is 0. So when at 0 minutes after noon, there will be about 17 customers in line. Now we need to make an interpretation about our slope. What would the slope interpretation be? Anybody know? How can I interpret my slope? My slope is negative 2. But what does that mean, negative 2? According to the table, look at the table. For each minute that goes by, what happens to my y value?
It increases.
By how much? Look at your slope. No. For each minute that passes after noon, how many fewer customers are in line? 2. At 0 minutes, it's 17 customers. At 1 minute, it's 15 customers. At 2 minutes, it's 13 customers. So my application is, for every minute that passes after 12 o'clock noon, the customers will decrease by 2 people. Okay, and all of that came from this equation, y equals negative 2x plus 17. It's showing me how the rate changes over time. All right, so now this is the real 31. Okay, the real number 31. I know I forgot to number the line of best fit. The average August temperatures in New York City over a 15-year time period. What would that be?
Bar.
What type of graph would that be? You should have already answered these. It would be a line graph. What gives it away is the 15 years line graph. Okay, what about 32? the relationship between the amount of sleep needed per day and age. What do you think? It is a scatter plot, and what gives it away is I'm looking for a relationship. Is it a positive relationship, meaning the older you get, the more sleep you need? Or is it a negative relationship? The older you get, the less sleep you need? Or is there no relationship at all between age and sleep? That's what we're looking at across that scatter plot. All right, and I would probably say it's the older you get, the less sleep you need, but then at some point I think you do need more sleep. I don't know. I'd be interested in looking into that. All right, what about 33? A survey that shows the percentage of 11th grade students that prefer cycling, fishing, skateboarding, and surfing. Yeah, guys, that is like so 100% circle graph for sure. Okay, I need my H. All right, and then 34, the shoe sizes of 8th grade students. I would take 2 answers probably for this one. I would not do a bar graph because think if someone's a size 1 all the way up to a 15, you're going to have 15 columns. Yeah, because like you have to know how many students are a size 7. That's your frequency. How many to set the height of your bar. But you need a column on a bar graph. You have to have a column for every outcome. So that would be a lot of different columns. And then you have half sizes too. So a bar graph would not be it. You could do, though, a histogram. You could do a histogram because you can set intervals, like sizes 1 to 3, 4 to 6, 7 to 9. You could do a histogram, but that's actually not my first pick. My first pick would be a dot plot. Okay? Again, because you can kind of just set it like 2, 4, 6, 8, like sizes, and then you could just kind of plot them and then how many students. Or a histogram, dot plot or a histogram. Dot plot or a histogram. All right, and then 35. Comparison between number of years of education and annual salaries. It's pretty easy. What do you think, guys? Scatter plot. Now, what do you think should be the relationship there? Should it be positive, negative? What do you think? As the number of years of education increases, what should happen to their salaries? It should increase too. It should be a positive relationship. Now, is that a guarantee?
No.
So if you go to college for 10 years, you're guaranteed to make a ton of money? No. You still have to be good at whatever you were trained to do. Okay? And we've all been to 1 or 2 bad doctors, haven't we? So it doesn't matter that you went through all the education. You still have to be good at your profession. All right, last page. I need to talk to you about the last page real quick. Okay, I wrote down some of the answers on this slide. All right, the last page of your review sheet. Are you ready for this? It makes up almost half of your midterm exam. That one page. That one page on your review sheet is 20-ish questions out of 50 on your review or on your exam. And the reason why is because you can't have 50 questions that you have to solve. Okay? So there's going to be a lot of terminology on your exam that you just need to have memorized. A translation, slides. Reflection, flips, a rotation, turns, and a dilation, changes in size by a scale factor. Now, on 37, the first blank I did not write on the screen. What is a 3-sided polygon on 37? Triangle. So let's go in order. We're going to list them all the way down for the first column. Triangle, what's 4-sided? Quadrilateral, what's 5-sided? Pentagon, hexagon, heptagon, octagon, nonagon, decagon. Okay? Now, what I have written on the screen, the first set of numbers is the sum of the angles. This is something that you can memorize, but guys, there's also a formula. N minus 2 times 180. You also have that formula, okay? So that formula can be used to find any of these sums. Take the number of sides of the polygon minus 2 and multiply it by 180, okay? Now, how do you think I found the third column of values? How did I come up with those numbers? That's not something that you have to necessarily memorize. If you understand how I got there, then you can solve any number of them. How did I get 60 for an individual angle measure of a triangle? What do you think I did to 180? I divided by the number of sides. So here's the catch, guys. You take the sum of the angles and you divide it by the number of sides. Let's take your hexagon down here. Hexagon has 6 sides. What's 720 divided by 6? 120. So the individual angles is just the sum divided by the number of angles on the figure. That's all it is. So, do you have to straight up memorize this third column?
No.
No. Do you even have to memorize the first column that I have written here? No, because you can use your formula to figure it out as long as you know the formula. Okay? So, hopefully that helps. Now, the next one, number 38, I literally just gave that to you in section 6.4. Pictograph, bar graph, circle graph. Look back in your notes, get that filled in. Let's go through it real quick. Pictograph is pictures. Bar graph is categories. Circle graph is a percentage of a whole. Line graph is over time. Histogram is going to be intervals and frequencies. Stem and leaf plot, numerical order, how a data set breaks down. Box and whisker plot deals with your quartiles, your medians, and your dot plot is shows one category, just basically the results for one category, and your scatter plot shows a comparison between 2 categories, and it's looking for a relationship. Okay, can we say our formulas together? What is the formula for slope-intercept? Y equals mx plus b. What about point slope? Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. What about standard form? ax plus by equals c. And then solving for slope. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And then we just talked about it. What is the formula to find the sum of the angles? N minus 2 times 180. That's all your formulas. And about how much of your midterm is just on this last page? About 20 questions. Almost half of your midterm is just straight up memorization. Okay, so it is very possible for you to do very well if you study. Okay, that concludes part 3.